Okay, so Ninjago has its own version of the Invisible Man. Remember, I haven't seen much of the show, so that might be a wrong assessment of the character, but what can you do? Anyway, this is the third and last character whose only ability is stealth after Ash and Shade from the end of the last part. Just to recap, stealth makes the user invisible so they can bypass these sketchy cameras. You don't use it a whole lot, like there's one per area, if that, but nevertheless, it's a needed ability, so yeah. So why did I put Pale Man above Ash and Shade? Because Pale Man is the coolest of the three. It's just an invisible guy. Also, according to Ninjago Wiki, he's the elemental master of light? Another competitor in the Tournament of Elements? Jeez, how many of them are there? Also, why is he invisible? Because light is technically invisible? I don't even know the rules. I don't know why I'm acting like I do. Okay, so I guess I should explain this character and what she's parodying for those who might not know. So let me just give you a rundown. Korean pop, or K-pop, is becoming big in America and has been popular in Korea for some time. N-pop is a parody of K-pop, where the N stands for Ninjago instead of Korea, or Korean. As for her appearance, well, I guess it's a parody of K-pop stans, which are fans of K-pop, but I think this is a little over the top. Like, what are you trying to say about K-pop, Lego, or TT Games, or Warner Bros, or whoever is responsible for her creation? Anyway, she has one ability, and it's actually pretty important. If you know Ninjago, you would know that each of the ninjas have a signature weapon that they use alongside their signature element. In this game, each of the signature weapons are also their own abilities, as well as weapons that you fight with. And it's pretty common for other characters to share these weapons and their abilities. For example, N-Pop Girl has a hammer, which is a weapon of one of the main ninjas. Because of this, N-Pop Girl has the hammer ability. Basically, there's a giant button, and only those with the hammer can clobber it down to make something happen. The hammer ability is honestly the least used weapon ability of the 6, but it's pretty useful either way. So the next three characters are all the same type of character with the same one ability, so strap in, fellas. So snake people are a big enemy of the ninjas, it turns out. In fact, most of the Ninjago show I remember, the ninjas are fighting these snake people called the Serpentine. This is one of them, Slithra. I guess his name is Slithra because he's a slitherer. Ugh, I hate that so much. Like, just get a regular name, you know? Anyway, Slithra has one ability, and it's new to the series, but we've seen it before in LEGO Incredibles, the Burrow ability. In LEGO Incredibles, the Underminer and Flick had it, but in this game it's pretty much exclusive to the Serpentine. I mean, the entrance for the Burrow ability in this game is a snake face, if that isn't obvious enough. And yeah, just like we've seen before, you go to mound until you get what you're looking for, which is pretty much always a collectible. And that's all I have to say about Slithra, that piece of serpentine garbage. Like I said, this and the next guy are the exact same as Slithra in terms of abilities. This guy, Feng Shui, has Burrow, and that's it. I mean, he has an axe too, but it's unfortunate that the axe doesn't have a corresponding ability like the hammer does, so sucks for him. Anyway, Feng Shui is in the Ninjago show, which most of these characters are, but this dude's wiki says that he's dangerous in non-combat situation because he's hungry all the time. I guess his 2 front teeth are a dead giveaway for that. But he's also the strongest member of his Serpentine tribe, the Fangpire. I have nothing else to say. It's ridiculous, man. I still have a while to go before I can allow myself to end the segment, so I have to keep talking. I can't expect for there to be extensive lore about everyone, especially these snake people that aren't even the big baddies. But I wish there was just a tiny bit more to talk about, you know? So this is the third and last of the snake people that have only the Burrow ability. There are several, and I mean several, more Serpentine characters in this game, but they all have at least one other ability, so they have that extra edge. Lazaru is the best of the 3 Burrow-only Serpentine characters because while Feng Shui has an axe, Lazaru has a double-bladed axe, which is certainly epic in its own right. But out of Lazaru, Feng Shui, and Slithra, Lazaru is the lowest ranking in terms of their own respective tribes, weirdly enough. Slithra was a general, and Feng Shui was just called the strongest warrior of his tribe, but Lizaru is just a warrior. Also, I should probably say, there are like 5 different serpentine tribes. I should have explained this in the past segment. Slithra is Hypnobrai, Feng Shui is Fangpire, and Lizaru is Venomari. But I mean, these tribes barely even differentiate from each other. They all have different color schemes, but to be honest, they're all the same. Lord Garmadon, the main antagonist of the film, has to have an army for his villainous deeds, right? Well, in the show he has skeletons, which surprisingly didn't even show up in this game. Looking back on it, there are a few of those skeleton characters that could have made good playable characters in the game, but for some reason they just weren't added in. But in the Lego Ninjago movie, Garmadon's army were shark people. Not even shark people, like people who dress up as fish, essentially. Quite a downgrade from the animated skeletons, if you ask me. But anyway, this is the runt of the runts, the Shark Army Thug. A lot of these Garmadon henchmen have abilities other than just the one that this guy has. So since this guy only has that one ability and nothing else, it makes him the worst of the Shark Army people by default. What is that one ability? Dive. Basically, he can go underwater where he can get collectibles, and it's only one ability, but it's a pretty useful one because Ninjago City is on a body of water, so there's a bunch of water to be explored in the game. So this is the first character with more than one ability, but don't get excited. There are still characters with only one ability after this guy. It's just that the characters with one ability that are ranked above this guy, their one ability is more useful than this guy's 2 abilities. This guy is Bolobo, and guess what? He's another competitor in the Tournament of Elements in the show. He is the elemental master of nature. Is nature even an element? Nature is more like an environment with a collection of elements in it. I don't know. I think the definition of element is being a little bit muddled here. Anyway, like I said, Bolobo has 2 abilities. The first one is Staff. Bolobo wields a vine staff or something, and that corresponds to an ability. Basically, with the staff, you can shove it into these holes and rotate it to open a door, reveal a collectible, or whatever. It's the other ability that's holding him back, which is Force Field. Yeah, he can create a force field of leaves to block incoming attacks. Like I said about force fields, though, yeah, they block attacks, but they won't be able to get combos, which is what combat is reliant on. So yeah, Force Field sucks and Bolobo sucks, and I feel bad that his parents named him that. Bolobo? Look how cool this guy looks. Or girl? Apparently the identity of Samurai X was a whole mystery thing going on in the show. So I might get things wrong here because I kind of researched it, but I didn't really care that much, so bear with me if I get something wrong. So apparently Samurai X was Nia's alter ego because she was super jealous of the 4 original ninja being trained under Sensei Wu. And then later on, the identity of Samurai X was adopted by an android named Pixel to gain the ninja's trust and to infiltrate or something. I don't know. But Samurai X is in this game, and I'm just glad Samurai X didn't turn out to be another competitor in the Tournament of Elements as the elemental master of swords or something. Anyway, Samurai X has one ability, which is Vine Cut, another ability that corresponds to a weapon of one of the main ninjas. Vine Cut is used when you see these green vines. Obviously. Those with only one sword can cut through them. And that's Vine Cut. Pretty simple. It's rarely used. In fact, I can only think of 2 instances in the open world where you use it, but you use it a lot in story mode. So this guy isn't as cool as Samurai X, and he's actually the runt of the Stone Army, another army of fiends from the show. In case you don't know, there's usually a different type of army every season of the show because LEGO needs to sell their LEGO products, and they can't do that with a consistent set of antagonists, so they keep switching them out. This was the army for one of the seasons, and I gotta say, this guy still looks kinda cool for being a runt. Anyway, the Stone Warrior has a new ability not yet seen, and it has to do with those two swords of his. The sword ability is yet another ability that corresponds to one of the main ninja's designated weapons, and it's actually very common. Basically, there are these little machines with two holes, and any character with two swords can put their swords in the machine and unlock it to make something happen. I'd say, of all the weapon abilities, this one is used the most, so it's nice that this guy has something to show for himself. Ending off this part, we're going to cover one of the most obscure characters in this game, Mr. Liu. If you haven't seen the movie or just don't recognize him, that's Jackie Chan's live-action character at the beginning of the movie. You unlock Mr. Liu after you beat the bonus level at the end of story mode, where you play as Garmadon's mech and Lloyd's Mecha Dragon to destroy Ninjago City. Mr. Liu also has one ability, and it's the vanilla version of the thing that makes Ninjago stand out, Spinjitzu. Most characters with Spinjitzu in this game have a special kind of Spinjitzu. Different kinds of elements call for Spinjitzus that do different things. Mr. Liu has basic Spinjitzu, the type that doesn't correspond to any element. Honestly, you can't do much with basic Spinjitzu. All you can do with it is hit these panels to turn them around, which usually make a door open or something. I get why Mr. Liu has basic Spinjitzu, though, as an ability, because of the other character Jackie Chan plays in this film, but, we'll get to him.